Hello. Combined machine learning model for COVID-19 analysis and forecasting in Ukraine, done by PhD and Associate Professor Olena Pavluk and student Anastasia Olga Strantitska. For the first time in Ukraine, COVID was confirmed on February 21, 2020. Started from August, according to the decision of the State Commission of Technogenic and Environmental Safety and Emergencies of the State Commission, the indicators for determining the levels of epidemic danger, Ukraine was divided into some of the quarantine zones. Different colors were assigned to them. Red, the most dangerous. Orange, safer than red. Yellow, almost safe. Green, safe. During the entire period of the COVID pandemic in Ukraine, these three waves were identified. The first lasted almost a year, from February 21, 2020 to mid-February 2021. The second until mid-July 2021. Next is the third wave, which continues to this day. Standard statistics about COVID were obtained from open sources of the sites stated above. As the data file is large and contains information about COVID around the world, only those data that relate to Ukraine have been filtered. After analyzing the obtained data, it was found that the partial data loss for some parameters records in the database. They were missing, or in their place were recorded zeros. Therefore, there is a need to supplement and smooth them out. The simplest and at the same time the most effective method of addition is the use of power polynomials, which was used in this work. The choice of the degree of a polynomial depends on the specific parameter that describes COVID in Ukraine and its values. For example, in Figure 1, A and B, the blue colors show an example of the lost data on such a parameter as new tests. For 2020 and 2021, respectively, the trend in the form of a power polynomial is reflected in black. Another source of information is the queries of users in the Google search engine using the phrase COVID and its combination in search phrases in Ukraine. The downloaded data is written to a file containing 17 columns with detailed characteristics. Death increase currently, hospitalized increase, hospitalized currently, negative increase, and other. Another thing to worry about is that Google data from user searches on the internet is submitted weekly and COVID data daily, so it was decided to average out the COVID data so that aggregate cases for each week were received, not daily data. This was done in two steps. First, 7 days were subtracted from the day so that it represented the first day of the week in question. Therefore, for example, the date 2021, the 1st of March, denote the week beginning on the 1st of March. Then a resample was made and averaged for each 7-day period. For the purposes of this work, only 7 columns from the data set were used: peak COVID, COVID symptoms, and some other ones presented here. The lost data was supplemented and smoothed in the same way as described above. Although the size of the received files in the knowledge base is insignificant, they contain parameters that do not correlate much with the confirmed cases of COVID in Ukraine. Therefore, for the analysis of pandemic data and the formation of the training and test samples for the CGTM neural-like structures, it is advisable to filter the data out that correlate with each other. This is done using a matrix of correlation dependencies constructed from the Pearson correlation coefficient. The dimension of the matrix was 6 by 6. The columns and rows of the matrix are COVID, COVID symptoms, COVID testing, COVID treatment, coronavirus, and confirmed case. The figure stated here shows the result obtained on the matrices of correlations. To implement the COVID pandemic forecast in Ukraine, 8 models based on SGTM neural-like structures have been developed. Their inputs were fed a vector of input signals for the parameters that correlated in each of the pandemic waves, and all generally given in the range from 0 to 1. The outputs of the first 4 models, not scaled values of the number of laboratory-confirmed COVID cases in Ukraine. Scalable values were applied to the other 4 models. SGTM neural-like structures were trained in supervised training. Training and test samples of SGTM neural-like structures were formed according to the dominant parameters for each wave of coronavirus. You can see the basic approach stated on the schema showed on the slide. Each SGTM neural structure will predict the parameters that correlate in each individual wave of the pandemic. Also, a separate structure is trained for the parameters that correlate in all waves of the pandemic together. Comparison and discussion. Learning outcomes and predictions were evaluated by the standard error of the range. The accuracy of the forecast was also checked by the absolute value of the deviation of the predicted data from the real laboratory confirmed cases of COVID in Ukraine. The results of training and forecasting SGTM neural-like structures are presented in the table. The results of all 8 models were highly accurate. The error reduced to the range of values did not exceed 7.95%, and their results are comparable. Moreover, the accuracy of the predicted data using SGTM neural-like structures model with the maximum number of parameters and normalization of only the input data is higher, and its error does not exceed 5.55%. The calculated absolute values of deviations of the predicted values from the clinically confirmed values indicate that they do not exceed the defined errors. The results you can also see on the schema on this slide. Predicted and normalized values obtained from 4 models of SGTM neural-like structures of clinically confirmed cases of coronavirus in Ukraine were translated back according to linear normalization. The result was a range of values in the old bit grid. For convenience, the results were also presented in the form of graphs you can see here. They can also be saved to a file if desired. Conclusion. The problem of predicting COVID pandemic is one of the most important in the world in general and in Ukraine in particular. Despite the significant amount of statistics collected in open sources, there is a need to restore and supplement them. The authors created a knowledge base, filling it with the standard statistics while identifying closed data and restoring them by power polynomials. For a more complete knowledge base, they use data that reflect the activity of users in the Google search engine. By normalizing the statistics to the range from 0 to 1, we created a training set and test samples for SGTM neural-like structures. Based on it, 8 models were developed. To improve the accuracy of solving the problem of predicting confirmed cases of COVID, it is advisable to conduct further research in 2 main areas: the use of other types of filters to recover lost data, and the use of non-iterative artificial neural networks with the possibility of multiple linear regression using a linear polynomial as a constructive formula for the structure of SGTM. Thank you for your attention.